Hey gang, welcome back to another video. Today we have another onboard of a cyclocross race for you. If you're new here, we make videos of cyclocross races, funnily enough. So if you like cyclocross, if you like bikes, if you like racing, you should definitely subscribe. This is another round of the London and South East Cyclocross League. We're at the lovely Summerhill Schools in Kent for what was deceivingly sunny but quite muddy. This is your start, talk us through it.
So I was pretty nervous about this start. As you can see, it starts up quite a steep climb. I was greeted quite far back and I did not want to get stuck behind riders going into this technical section. So I told myself to put in quite a dig here to get me further ahead. Tash on the Celeste bike in front, most of us would call it blue, did such a wonderful job of dragging me through the wheels here. Absolute superstar. I asked her beforehand, I was like, I'm going on your wheel, you better get a good start. I was only joking, but she absolutely nailed it, and it meant I did get quite far through the field before we started this pretty chaotic muddy section.
This section was super hard to pass riders on. It's basically just like a bit of a slalom down a muddy field, so it meant that you could very easily get stuck the wrong side of riders if you'd put yourself there.
Well, you'd try and pass them on one side and then the course would change direction, so you'd be stuck on the outside again. We're going to use my race to basically just show you the course, because whilst I think my first lap was pretty interesting because I'm around a lot of other riders, after the first lap I was pretty much on my own, whereas you had a lot more battles in your... Ah!
Sorry about that. Yeah, I had a few people around me, so it might make for a more interesting race breakdown, whereas Honor rode a really nice steady race that kind of kept people away from her and kept her in a good position, which isn't that exciting. Nice sensible racing doesn't make for great YouTube videos, unfortunately.
I got a bit stuck there in that little corner. That was probably one of the hardest parts, deceptively, because you just couldn't get any traction. Even though it kind of looks like a normal little muddy corner, you would start riding out of it and you would just go absolutely nowhere. This
is the section that they inappropriately was named Acorns for the day. Normally when it's super dry, all these acorn trees, I don't know what
presumably
the official name is, drop acorns on the floor, so it's super bobbly, and normally here you're really struggling to get traction because of all of the acorns on the floor. This year we've had quite a lot of rain kind of leading up to it, and especially the day before, it absolutely soaked everything, so everything had just become mud, which was a lot of fun. That acorn section was really good, but the acorns are a bit negligible. Yeah, inappropriately named there, but it was a good section. It didn't really dry out at all because it was under the trees, under shade, whereas for my race some of the areas started to dry out a little bit, and then we exit Acorns back onto the road and we head up to the drop off of Doom. Top tip from me there, avoid the speed bump when you can. Extra bit of climbing, don't need that. This was one of the key sections of the course for recovery, for me at least. I knew there was no point pedalling here when you're about to have way too much speed, if anything. So the only scenario that would have had me pedaling on that section would be to get in front of someone who I didn't trust, but that didn't happen, so I was quite happily just taking it easy. This was a treacherous little corner because it led up into a very, very steep and difficult climb. So for me, it was the key point of the race, of the course, where I knew I had to nail that corner, because if I didn't go into this climb cleanly, I would not get up at all. You nailed that corner there, got past two people. Those are two people that I know are stronger than me. And that was like the key thing for me with that climb, because I felt like I was very much on the verge of quite simply not making it to the top of that climb because of how weak I feel physically. So I knew that that corner was basically everything in my race, so I made sure I got it right. This was the second corner that was going to be pretty decisive, and we'd practiced this a fair amount the day before. I think that wasn't my smoothest ride, but you said I did it pretty good. You were filming externally. Yeah, that was really nice line, like deep and around the outside, worked well.
yeah, a lot of people were kind of slipping and foot out, and some people were running. I mean, the girl who went on to win the race around that corner, so probably a sensible option. But again, like, I just wanted to stay on the bike and do it cleanly and not spend extra energy that I do not have. This again, just a kind of messier repeat of the corner before.
Yeah, these kind of off-camber corners were really, really easy to turn too sharply into and just lose your front wheel, and then everything starts to go quite wrong.
These were a really good example of kind of taking the line wider than you feel like you should, because it meant that you would come out in a straight line on terrain that you could actually like pedal away from, because the priority wasn't so much carrying speed into the turn, but it was being able to drive out of it because it was so like sketchy, basically.
Yeah, you were ending up pointing uphill at the bottom of every one, so if you'd end up a bit wonky or still in a bit of mud, you just weren't getting back up the hill, which absolutely needed to be the priority.
So this is the roller coaster section, aptly named, very fun. I regret taking so much speed off there. I don't think I did that corner as well as I could have. I think I'd done it better in practice. Again, because it leads into an uphill, it was always a case of like, how much speed can I keep here? And I think I scrubbed off a little bit too much. I didn't do it bad, but I could have done it better. And I feel the same about this corner coming up, where later in the race I just stopped braking. I was just flying into that because, again, goes back into climbing, and if I'd wasted some of my speed and momentum that I already had, it meant having to work harder coming out of it. And I realised after this lap, basically, I realised that you could pretty much go into that full speed.
Yeah, you could absolutely pin it through there. This section now, past the pits, was, I found, the hardest lap of the whole race. I just thought it was super draggy, and it always has been historically. It's a bit of like a false flat almost. You think it's going to be easy, and it's anything but, which leads us down into the Tron sections. I think this year they had it as like Microtron and Megatron or something like that, but it's basically just these taped mazes, which are just a lot of fun, actually. Really
test your flat, muddy cornering, which is my kind of thing. Like, I do like this a lot, but what I did with this was very much used it as a recovery section. I really wasn't pushing. I was like, ride easy, there's going to be a speed limit here anyway, so smooth, keep everything in check, ride into a stake, maybe not then. So like pushing the lines, like pushing how much speed I could carry, but I wasn't adding more speed, I would say, because then this section, this was my least favorite. This was the real drag, and this is where, and I talk about this in the main event video, that I told myself, do not push here. There's no point. For me personally, if I was to push here, I would take myself into the red and I wouldn't be able to do the rest of the course justice. And I knew that the rest of the course had elements that would very much like work to my strengths, but if I sent myself into the red climbing up this horrible slog, then I wouldn't be able to get the most. That's my dog, Carlo, hi. I wouldn't be able to get the most out of the rest of the course. So I told myself, like, if people pass me here, then so be it. Let's just keep myself in check. I hated it, and I rode as hard as I felt like I comfortably could, but I was not pushing. I wasn't like attacking outside or none of that. It was very much just like, I don't know, I guess maybe threshold effort.
Yeah, just keeping it in check, going as hard as you can without burning matches, without hurting yourself. Yeah, that bit was really horrible. And then this is the other Tron section. It's a little bit wider, this one. I found these turns even slippier.
They were easier to get complacent on. They looked less difficult, but with that, you take more speed into them, and then actually it turns out they're just as risky as the other ones. And then we come around this corner and we go into hurdles. Now this is so embarrassing, but I didn't realise these hurdles were so small. My brain was just like, hurdles, they're hurdles, I have to get off the bike and run over the hurdles. And it was only after watching the men's race and watching basically everyone ride over them, I was like, oh, they were quite small, maybe I could have rode over them.
You definitely could have ridden
but
them.
it just didn't occur to me. I just saw hurdles. I'm not used to short hurdles. And then you really like this section, we can talk about this in your GoPro, but you would say it was pretty much a straight line.
Oh, that was a straight line.
Whereas I'm kind of trying to turn maybe more than I needed. But again, back into this Tron section, another little wigglies, testing your cornering, which I love. More of that, please.
Yeah,
and I'm surprised that I didn't come off my bike there, because normally, as much as I love those sections, I kind of get a bit excitable and can get a bit clumsy, but I do love them. And then
this was your favourite part of the course, right?
Do you know, this wasn't anywhere near as bad as I thought it would be, because obviously this is like the climb of the course, but actually it was tarmac, had this little lay-by section, which, by the way, I don't know why, like, the lines that everyone else has taken, judging by the mud patches, everyone had like kept to the grass for quite a long time, and I was like straight back on that tarmac. Oh my god, why would I choose to ride on the grass when there's tarmac there? And so actually, because it was tarmac, it really just didn't take that long to get done.
Yeah, it wasn't draggy like you're used to riding on grass and mud and everything, so the bike feels super slow. So actually a chance to ride on hard tarmac is great, because the bike feels like it's rapid.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, based on looks, that was the climb, but actually when it came to riding it, it was that uphill slog that I was just talking about. That for me was the climb.
Yeah, it was the same gradient, it was just mud and grass and water. But that makes a whole lap. We're now back into the wiggles, and you're riding them a little bit better than you did last time, because there's nobody in front of you.
I'm not smothered in other riders. Before we move on to your race, though, maybe we could point out the line choice of that funny corner.
Yeah, so we got the opportunity to pre-ride the course the day before as part of the women's training session that Southborough Wheelers put on in association with the league, which gave us kind of free rein to really try out some lines and work out how best to tackle corners. Honor there showed a pretty good example of one of those, going super wide round the bottom where it is still grippy, where people aren't typically going to be riding, and that really gives you the opportunity to then straighten up before you really end up in all of the mud. There's a really good example of it coming up in this kind of next corner once we go around the tree, which you can talk through.
Yeah, I think it was Emma who first pointed this one out to us the day before. But basically, because we'd had time to like actually look at things, it ended up, so we go super wide here, much wider than you'd expect, but it meant you get that super dry section on the left hand side. I was pointing at the screen as though you can see it, but you can't. But if we'd taken that corner kind of more intuitively, how you would if you were coming into it for the first time, you wouldn't have been able to catch that drier, much easier to ride section on the far left, which made for a much nicer exit and being able to maintain a lot more speed in the long run, even though you're going a little bit further to get there.
All right, moving on. Here I am, third row start for me, far on the right hand side, hoping that this guy in front of me gets a good start, but as you can see, he's got mud on the left side of him already, so it
doesn't bode well.
It doesn't bode well.
I could have picked a different wheel.
Kind of put myself there and was like, we'll see how this one goes. But no, he started really well, actually. I didn't start quite so well. Yeah, man, he went straight to the front.
That really shows you for talking bad about guy with mud on his pants.
Yeah, so my plan for this race was to ride steady, to ride kind of within myself.
And what was that inspired by? Sorry,
I was inspired by Honor's knowledge and wisdom, to be honest.
Well, it worked for me.
It worked for you, and so I thought I'd try.
This is carnage. This is so much worse than my race.
So messy at the start. which wasn't great. I was a bit further back than I wanted to. I thought about trying to pass up the right hand side of Dan on that start and just decided that wasn't a good idea. Here I really decided to hang back, and I think that kind of paid off for me. I knew that I could probably put myself in some places, but I was just going to end up in the stakes like that guy did there. And then we're out into the rest of Acorns, and this is this is just carnage at this point. It's all going off. I was really hoping I'd get a nice outside line around there. Didn't happen. Bit of a standstill there. Someone's trying to come round my left, and then this is me using those kind of deeper lines that we spoke about and really paying off. I kind of was able to put the hammer down a bit harder. Someone's often running on the right hand side, lent on them a little bit to let them know I was coming through, but worked out well, kind of getting a decent straight kick up and into the rest of the course helped out massively.
Weren't much tape on the side there.
No, there never is. First lap men's race, just the tape goes everywhere.
Just as the corner we were talking about before, we didn't quite execute that to the plan we had.
No, I didn't. I did that badly. Look, tape's down again.
I'm not surprised, to be honest, looking at you all.
So you can see in my shadow here that I am still pedalling here, despite Honour's wisdom not to, and that's because Dan was wanting to come past me and I didn't really want to let him through. But
he's a good rider.
He's a good rider. I knew it was Dan, so I didn't fight him too much. But ideally I wouldn't have let that place up. However,
nailed that, Theo.
Yeah, I'll just have it back. Thanks, Dan.
Jesus,
he said nice as they came past him. Yeah, I was really comfortable with that corner and I rode it really well, and I knew that I could punch out of here quite hard and make up places.
I just can't believe how different that is for you as it was for me. Like, for me, that was the limit of my strength. Like, if I didn't reach that limit, I wasn't getting up there, and you just fly up there like it's nothing. It's not fair.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm intrigued to see this.
So this was, I took not the line we spoke about because there was someone on that line, and I managed to ride it quite nicely and take a place back.
Well, what I saw from watching footage back of riders was there was a high line and there was a low, wider line, that
was some more tape going down.
And they were like equally as good, or maybe one was better than the other, but they were both good lines, like one extreme or the other, very high or very low.
So that was my more preferred line. Caden there took a little bit more extreme version and went into the tape a little bit.
This tape is being tested.
It's funny, in some sections you'll see like halfway across they've had to tie two bits together.
Closing some gaps here.
Yeah, nearly falling off a little bit. I was quite comfortable in this, I think, just because we got to pre-ride it. And then we head back into your least favourite bit, the draggy bit up to the top, where you just need to be super, super strong, which I am not.
You are?
I'm not super, super strong.
You're super strong.
But not quite as strong as some of the other people around me. I was really excited about this bit because
you could hop the barriers.
Yeah, I could actually hop the barriers.
But so could everyone.
Yeah, I know. It's just,
wow.
Wow, look how fast. Yeah, it's just nice to actually jump over the barriers when they're at like 20 centimetres. I can do that, that's fine.
I mean, it was technically easy, but also still a lot of potential for it to go wrong, which, I mean, I definitely did see filming the race, but in hindsight, as I said, I didn't even consider it.
Told you that was a straight line.
Yeah, you did that well. But maybe if I had considered it, I still would have opted out because there is still quite a hefty, clumsy risk.
Yeah, go watch the full-length video and wait for the bit with the barriers because, oh boy, it can definitely still go wrong if you get your technique off, let's say. Is that Grant off and running for the first time?
Was he on the floor or did he?
He was definitely on the floor, look at his shoulder.
Not the best time for Grant on this race.
No, Grant didn't have the best race.
Well, he beat you. He did actually have a really good race where he had a good result, but by the sounds of it, he spent a lot of the time on the floor. So when he was riding well, he must have been riding really well.
Yeah, when I was behind him on the draggy bits, he's very strong. Very, very strong. And then this is that super wide line we were speaking about, because it just sets you up really nicely on that grass.
Yeah, close that gap really well.
They've just got way more speed than them, so you can just come flying past them. And because this is such a horrible drag, going into it with as much momentum as possible is just so important.
What happened there though?
I think I got caught slightly the wrong side of his wheel.
And nicely past him.
Yeah, that corner was terrifying. I kind of grew in confidence in it to the point where I very nearly crashed on the concrete, and then my confidence disappeared instantly.
That's how it goes, huh?
Yeah, that's always going to be the way. Back into the drop-off of Doom, which I had a lot of fun with. I think it's one of the things where you just take it as quickly as possible, and like if you start to slide, because you're going so fast, it's over quite quickly, and you don't give the bike a chance to get away from itself.
It's definitely one of those things where actually kind of doing nothing is the right thing to do. You really just want to stay relaxed and calm. The more like tense and the more you overthink it, the worse it's going to go.
Yeah, 100%.
So you just kind of literally drop off and just kind of hope for the best.
Yeah, kind of it's the bike body separation that a lot of people talk about. Your bike can move around underneath you quite a lot, as long as you kind of stay in the same relative position to the floor in terms of your body, you'll be fine.
Not on the floor.
Not on the floor. No, definitely not.
Ooh, bit sideways.
Yeah, a little bit. He opened a little bit of a gap up in front of me, which is fine. I can close that, I hope.
You went super tight around that corner, whereas I was going super wide.
Yeah, so I don't know if they moved the stakes, but there was definitely more grass, like more fresh grass revealed on the inside of it, which I noticed having done it for the first time. It was also the case on one of the off-camber corners that kind of they had moved the inside higher up the hill, so it revealed a lot of grass on the inside which you could just ride onto and keep loads of grip. So despite pre-riding, despite going into things with the plan,
you still got to make decisions on the go.
Yeah, and you've got to notice that the course has changed. You've got to notice that features have changed, or other people are doing things better around you, and being able to adapt to them on the fly is super, super important, because there it really did create a significantly faster line on two corners. I really did this section poorly on this lap. I think both of my feet ended up coming off. My left foot came off in that corner, and then my right foot came off on the other corner, and I went down this bottom corner with both of my feet off the pedals right in front of Grant. So that definitely wasn't fun or pleasant to look at right in front of you whilst going around these corners. But I was in front of him, so he couldn't capitalise on the mistake. But then I didn't do that quite so good. I ended up unclipping again, and Grant seizes the opportunity to come past me, but I'm not going to let him do that easily. And he has a little slip out there. I've got this nice drier section on the left, so I can put some power down and get in front of him.
Follow my line on this one, go nice and wide and you cut straight across.
I wanted to show him this line. If you don't see it there, but he takes the bad line, and I nearly crashed into him, because I was like, Grant, follow my line, because number one, it's a better line and I want to show my friends better lines, but number two, I know that he's going to arrive on right where I want to be at the same time, and we're going to crash into each other.
So you're kind of warning him.
Yeah, get your heads up, Grant, I might crash into you, but also follow this line. He used that for the rest of the race. He said he really liked it, which is nice. It's nice to share lines with people you like.
Share lines with your friends.
Yeah. This is just that draggy section yet again, and it shows that sometimes you do just got to be really, really strong. Grant comes past me and I really struggled here. I was well above. I was not doing the honour sit at threshold. I was. You
were doing the Theo try and cling onto Grant's wheel.
Yeah.
Intensity level, which is maybe too much for you.
It's way too much. He's definitely stronger than I am, and I nearly fall off then.
You're going to risk going sideways to get in front. I like that.
Yeah, no, that was me not thinking straight, because I didn't have a lot of oxygen going to my head at that point.
I know that feeling.
What is that line, Grant? That's how you want to do it. Look at that.
Who beat you? Sorry, who beat who?
Okay, but I beat him through that one very specific situation. There he is.
Oh, nice line, Grant.
Yeah, there we go. Wonder where you worked that one out from.
You shouldn't have told him.
No, of course I'm going to tell him. Here we are, big gap going into this bottom corner. A little bit too hard into that corner, a little bit too deep.
But that's a good burst of power, that is.
Yeah, didn't feel good, but I got past it.
That must have felt good.
Yeah, that did feel quite nice. It's when you get right to the top and you're like, I could ease off here, but like I'm just about to overtake Grant, so I'm going to go that little bit deeper.
I'm getting the feeling that he's better on those draggy climbs, but maybe your short, intense power is...
My explosive power is pretty good. I think I'm off and running here, actually. I think I really messed that corner up. But it didn't make too much difference in terms of speed. It made a big difference in terms of energy. Yeah, poopness, energy expenditure. Like running really takes it out of me. Definitely takes it out of you, Honor.
Yeah.
Something we could maybe work on, but it's something to... there's always stuff to work on.
Yeah, I mean, I always find it interesting when people weigh up whether like running a section is faster than riding it, and you know, sometimes in thick mud it can be, but it always seems left out of that equation that running is also very, very taxing, and often more taxing than cycling through the section. So yes, sometimes running is faster, but does it come at a greater cost? And sometimes I feel like that is kind of left out of the discussion a little bit, at least for me, because I do not have strength, I do not have fitness, so it's all well and good being like, oh yeah, faster to run that, and it's like, yeah, cool, and that's me done for the day.
Yeah, I'm very much the same. Like, there's a lot of sections where yes, running is faster, but if you can just slowly, or a little bit slower, plod your way up it or grind your way up it. That's us going past Peter, who was on the floor having had quite a big crash, it looked like, so we'll see him later. Maybe
I take back what I said about being able to go into that corner at full speed. Maybe that did not work out for him.
I'm not sure how he crashed, you'll need to ask him, but he was like at the bottom of the drop down, so I don't know whether I don't know what happened, but he was on the floor and he didn't look like he was having a lot of fun. This is where Grant really put the hammer down.
Put the hammer down!
Yeah, I was not a very happy dead fish. As you can see, he's just gapping me, so I don't know, there's not really much more I could do. The motivation's there because it's Grant.
This is a bit of a inconvenience as well.
Yeah, these things happen though.
He seems like he's doing what he can to let you pass, but
100%, and you know, we're all racing together. I don't want him to
ruin his race over it. It's just
exactly.
timing, isn't it?
It's annoying, but equally, like, Grant's going to end up stuck behind somebody, I'm going to end up stuck behind someone. It all kind of works out in the end. Yeah, if it was last lap race winning move is made because you attack while someone's stuck behind someone, it's a bit annoying, but it is what it is. It's amateur racing, it doesn't matter too much.
How are you feeling at this point? Were you thinking maybe you could get him back?
No. I'm going to be completely honest. This was like, alright, cool. Grant's off. I'm not going to see him again.
You're still with him now. I mean, I think
he's
it's probably
stuck behind a rider.
Yeah, it's probably helped by the other riders. It worked out
in the end, as I said. I find psychologically I give up quite quickly in terms of battling people, which is something I definitely need to work on. But once somebody kind of does get a gap on me, I'm very quick to go, well, that's not coming back, which is annoying because I don't know whether they're just putting in an extra hard effort to try and get away from me, and then they're going to blow up, as shown on Tullet's turret, the little sharp climb. I'm stronger than him there. I'm closing the gap up here. So yeah, and it's something I really need to work on, kind of staying committed, staying confident, believing in myself a little bit, I guess, and really pushing harder to try and close people down. Like, I rode that section quite nicely there and got rid of some of the gap, not all of it, but a little bit of it. So there were occasions on the course where I knew I could ride them quite nicely, and I maybe needed to just believe in myself a little bit. So Grant's well out of the picture at this point. He's ridden off into the sunset. I've done a few laps by myself, and Peter, who we saw at this very location earlier, except the last time he was off his bike, has caught back up to me. He obviously was having a really, really good race, and it'd have been nice to have seen how well he'd done if he hadn't have fallen off his bike quite so hard. So this is the next person to battle. Again, someone just kind of drilling it really hard on the drags, but this time I'd already been embarrassed by Grant once. I was determined not to
let it happen again.
Maybe I was just speaking about needing a bit more confidence, a bit more motivation, believing myself a little bit. Maybe getting dropped by Grant on these bits was what I needed to then make sure it didn't happen again.
But you also know you can beat Peter. I mean, you know you can beat Grant, but I think you also think Grant is better than you. Whereas
I think Grant's stronger than me.
Whereas with Peter, you're maybe a bit more on even footing.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I was being a bit cautious through these corners, which maybe I didn't necessarily need to be quite so cautious.
You're just busy chatting to the guys you're lapping.
Yeah, well, I was really trying to turn and slowly drifting towards him and really didn't want to crash into him. I had a little battle here because that's my favourite section coming up, and I wanted to do it well.
Yeah, I mean, you leave the braking really late there, but does it actually make much difference? Because ultimately you're going into the corner with the same amount of speed as someone who brakes earlier.
I don't know, man. It looks cool.
I would argue maybe it's harder to pull off as well, because you're really then having to judge how much speed to scrub off, in one sudden go.
Yeah, you are braking when you're...
Whereas most people would just scrub it off slowly. I mean, if you're not... with Peter there especially, you're fighting to get into that corner first, so I can see the advantage.
And then I gave the front back, because I just wanted to do that corner on the front.
Okay.
This person, I think we'd already overtaken.
You were lapping him?
Yeah.
Yeah, you both rode those really well.
That's my improved line, down towards the toilets.
Down towards the toilets,
Yeah,
of course, yeah. We'll all take that on board.
Just because something like that where it is slippery, sometimes it's just best to kind of make the line, make the corner
straight lines,
and then you can put down more power. Although you're riding a longer distance, you're riding it quicker, and you're riding it with less chance of slipping out.
There's no course left. You could ride anywhere.
Yeah, the tape's gone. I got really scared of that bit, riding over the course tape, because I've had course tape in a rear mech before at the first lap at MK Bowl, and
it was one of our first cross races, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I couldn't get it out, and I couldn't ride my bike, and I had to pull out, which was awful.
Yeah, I imagine you have quite a phobia of course tape now. Yeah, I do as well, off the back of that happening to you.
I just can't go anywhere near it, and if I see it on the ground in the course, I do everything I can to go around it.
Peter does that really well.
Yeah, we both rode that kind of quite equally matched.
And also very close to each other in distance, which is quite impressive. You didn't string out in response to it becoming fast and downhill and technical.
Yeah.
You just kind of stayed together nicely.
It's nice being around people that you either race with a lot or know how good they are, because I know he's good at riding a bike, so I kind of...
You can stay on his wheel and trust that.
Yeah, I trust his wheel, and I'm happy to... I'm not going to be giving him too much space that it affects my race. So that's that inside line where it suddenly was a lot drier.
Oh my word. Theo. That's good. I like that.
Yeah, put myself up the inside, let them know that I'm still there.
Didn't pay off though, what the hell?
It wasn't, but a lot of these things, it's not to get in front, it's to, like, if you can put yourself up the inside and put yourself next to someone and maybe not get in front of them, but do it without wasting lots of energy, they might come out of that corner and really hit it up that next climb to get back in front, and that's an extra match that they've burnt. It's a little bit of extra energy that they've burnt.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's in their head, they're going, oh, you know, I can't shake them, they're riding up behind me. It's what I really like doing. I really like putting myself kind of next to people going into corners and then pulling out of that move, just because it puts the pressure on them.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't you know, it doesn't take a lot to do it, but the pressure is then on them because they feel like you're kind of impatient or you're pushing. Again, kind of just taking the front here just to
give it back up again.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to give it back up, and then at that point that was a really good move from him actually. I wasn't expecting it, but I kind of wanted to take the front into here to show that I'm still here, I'm still present, I'm still riding well, you're not going to shake me that easily. And he just absolutely did me in that corner and got back in front. I think this is coming to the end of the race. Here, he's just like, you can see, he's putting everything into this. He knows he's strong here, he knows he's better than me here. I'm pretty sure he looked back and saw that he'd gapped me last time we were going through this. So he's putting in big digs, and I'm really following a big effort right at the end of the race. I need to stay fairly composed.
Ooh.
Yeah, maybe I could have
capitalised on that.
Yeah, I needed to have been in a bit of a better position.
But if he just put you in the red, then
that's what I needed. I needed him to make a mistake and
just
kind of
offer you a bit of relief.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like, all right, cool. I can breathe a little bit. I can rest. I can make sure that he doesn't get away from me and I'm not completely out of energy.
Had you decided to just leave it to a sprint at this point?
Yeah, I had. Yeah, I've got an okay sprint. It's not the greatest sprint ever, but I'm comfortable in relying on it against people or giving it a good go against people. So I was pretty happy to kind of at this point say it's fine, I just need to stay close enough that I can give the sprint a good go, especially as I know that he's really tried to gap me going along the drags.
Well, he's clearly very good at climbing and those draggy efforts, whereas, as we said before, you seem to be quite explosive. So it seems like a good bet in this situation to say, oh, let's take it to a sprint.
However, I eased off too much.
You did.
I did ease off too much. And
he
going
gaps
into
you
this
there.
bottom corner, he gaps me. He looks back there, realises he gaps me and starts going. And at this point, I was like, oh no. Oh God, I've really got to do it from here. And it's a sprint from the very bottom of the line all the way up. He's got a good gap on me here, actually.
I can't believe you left it so late.
But
to close it.
To my surprise, I really did manage to close it. And I had him on the bike throw, I think.
This is my favourite moment. That's so awkward.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
Such a short finish.
I think you did not need to leave it that tight with Peter at the end.
Me too.
I was a little bit disappointed that you let him gap you when I feel like he didn't need, I feel like you didn't need that to happen.
Yeah, I agree. But I told you I believed in my sprint. No, we made it work.
Yeah, it's good. Good race for you, I think. Probably as good as it could have been.
I think so too. I'll have Grant next time, don't worry. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any comments on how you thought we raced, leave them down below. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more of this. Go check out our full-length video from the full day as well. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.